We are praying. Heavenly Father, we thank you, Lord, for today. Lord, we bless you for another opportunity to study. Father, we pray that you grant us wisdom, Lord, according to your word that says, if any man lacks wisdom, let him ask from you, and you are going to give the person wisdom, Lord. Your word equally says you are going to give us understanding than all our teachers.
Yes.
Lord, I pray that you grant every student in this class understanding, Lord. Lord, give them the mind of Christ that knows everything, understands everything. Lord, the Bible says, what kind of wisdom is this? Talking about Jesus. Let it be said about every student in this class in like manner. And we pray that let the subject matter, which get to do with IT engineering, Lord, let every single student become a true engineer who will not only have a job, but will be able to contribute to the world of IT.
Amen.
Lord, we want to say thank you because we know you have answered in Jesus' name.
Amen.
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 Okay. Welcome again this evening. We are going to be advancing.
Please, can you mute your phone if you're not talking, please?
We are going to be advancing in our IT. Now, so far we started looking at Linux commands. That's where we have been dwelling on. We started looking at Linux commands, and we have gone through the different, we spoke about Linux commands, and we realized that as DevOps engineers or as IT engineers, one of the things we are going to be doing is that we are going to be working with computers. And we established the fact that a computer is a computer because it has an operating system. Therefore, if you go to the, if you are trying to buy a computer for yourself or a friend or a parent or for your child, you are going to buy a computer. What makes that computer the computer is because of the operating system that are running inside that computer. So those are the stuff that we established in our last class. So we realize a computer can have different kinds of operating system. Now, the very common operating system that we should have seen is the Windows operating system. Now, in this Windows operating system, what did we realize? You realize when you go to buy your laptop, for example, and you could have bought, let's say, a Windows 10 laptop, which implies that computer is a computer because that Windows 10 operating system is running on it. If there is no operating system on that, on that meta that you bought, then it wouldn't be classified a computer. So please take note. Now we're able to look at that and we realize generally we are going to have different distribution as far as computers are concerned. Okay, and we saw the Windows operating system. Okay, we saw Windows operating system, like if you have a Windows laptop. Now we established the fact that that your computer is going to either have a Linux operating system. Now, once it have a Linux operating system, we are going to call that a Linux computer because the operating system that is running on that computer is Linux. Now, this is what we saw. Now, it could as well be a Windows, like generally most of us have Windows laptops, or a Mac, an Apple computer, Mac operating system, Mac OS. Now, these are the different options that we saw. But one thing that you realize is that most companies, they have what we call back end. Okay, a company has back end okay, and front end. So we have the back end and the front end. Now, the back end will be like, we'll have mostly servers. Okay, you have servers in the back end. And most of these servers that are in the back end, they are generally Linux operating system. You see that? So look at something, please. We have back end, we have front end. So in the back end, you have Linux, okay, operating systems running in the back end. Most of the times in the front end, like front end will, okay, now take note that these are mostly servers. Let me come again. These are servers. Like if you go to the server room, okay, these are servers. And most of these servers will be running Linux operating system. Now in the front end, what do we have in the front end? In the front end, we have, workstations. We have workstations. You see that? Now, in these workstations, there will mostly be Windows operating systems. Workstation will be like, for example, if you work in a company, let's say you work for Bank of America or Royal Bank of Canada. Now, Royal Bank of Canada is going to give you a working computer. That work laptop is what we call a workstation. Now, that workstation, most of the time, is going to be running a Windows operating system. You see that? So this is what we call the front end. So in the front end, you have workstation. That is, this is where task is actually being carried out. Now, what do we have in the back end? In the back end, we have servers. Like you can see, this is a kind of a server room. You see that? We have servers. Now, once we have this operating system, as we saw, when it comes to Linux, now, please take note, the servers is, okay, most of the time, servers will be 80:20, something like that, which implies it is, okay, 80% Linux, take note, and 20% Windows. So don't get me wrong. It doesn't imply that companies don't have Windows servers. They do. They have Windows servers. But now, okay, majority of the server that runs in the back end are Linux server. So the ratio will be something like 80:20 most of the time, particularly in Landmark, because when you live here and you go to apply for a job, okay, now there could be other companies that are using mostly Windows servers. That is not where you are coming from. You are coming from Landmark. In Landmark, the projects that we are supporting, our servers are running on the ratio 80:20, meaning that 80% of our servers are Linux and 20% are Windows. So please take note. But remember that this server, okay, what we call here server, a server is just a supercomputer. You see that? A server is a supercomputer. So please take note, it's very important. So we have seen all of this. The big question now is, how can we manage this computer? As a matter of fact, now what do you do when you have a computer, be it a normal laptop or a supercomputer, which is a server? If you realize most of the time, okay, you want to create a file. You see that? File management. So you want to create a file. Once you create a file, so we have file management. Okay, so this is what takes place most of the time. You want to manage your files and folders. What else will you manage in this computer? What else? What else will you manage on your computer? For example, assuming that you're a mom, you have 5 children, and you all have one computer in the house. Every person is supposed to use that computer. You see that? How can you ensure that each person, okay, uses just their own, okay, workspace on that computer? What you are going to do is that you are going to create everybody a user account. You see that? Therefore, we have user management. You see that? User management. So this is what you can do on, be it a supercomputer, which, okay, what will you be doing? Managing users. You are managing, users. Like you can assign a password where nobody can log into your own space. Because in a normal company, as we are going to see, okay, a computer, like a Linux computer, is going to permit multiple users to access that computer at, okay, depending on what they want to do. So for that to happen, you need to understand user management. Now, when you are in that computer, what else can you do? You can try to install some softwares, like, we have tried to do what? Install softwares like, okay, Sublime Text, right? You have installed Sublime Text. Sublime Text is a software on your Windows computer. What else did you install on your computer? You try to install Mobile Extend, Git Bash. Now, those are softwares. You see that? Those are softwares. So now, let me come. Softwares. So now we have softwares. These softwares are what we call packages. You see that? We call them packages. Therefore, okay, we are going to have what we call package management. You see that? So you can manage packages. Take note about that. Why is it important to manage packages on your computer? You will agree with me that there are times that when you try to install a particular software on your computer, it can cause your computer to begin to run very slow. You see that? Why? Maybe the software you are trying to install got some viruses, or somebody can send you a file that is corrupted. You want to, okay, access that file, and the file corrupts the entire server. That's dangerous. And that's why file management is important. User management is important. Package management is important. So this is, okay, these are some of the broad reasons, okay, why we are going to need, okay, a computer. But the next big question is, how can we manage files? How can we manage users? How can we manage packages? You see that? That is another big question to answer. So now we know what to manage. Okay, what to manage? Okay, what to manage? You see that? What to manage? Now, we are managing files. What else? Users and packages. The next question is, how can I manage all of this? That's the big question. How to manage? You see that? How to manage. Now, how can we manage all of this? Take note. Very important. How can I manage files, users, and packages? These are just some basic examples. Now, in the how, we realize we can do that using graphical user interface. You see that? Graphical user interface, something like that. Now, this is called GUI. Like what I'm doing now, I am using a graphical user interface. So how can I manage, my files, my users? How can I do that? The first way I can do is to use graphical user interface. For example, I have a Windows laptop. Word file. What will I do? I'm going to type Word here, Microsoft Word. You see that? This is Word. Let me show you something. I'm trying to create a Word file. This is a Word file. You see that? Now, I can just begin to type stuff like, this is Lega. You see that? We are, or this is, let me use it, class 24. Okay. Now, we are studying DevOps. Now, look at something. If I do this, I can save this file. I'll come here to file. Okay, I want to save the file. Where do I want to save? I come here to browse. Okay, now I have a folder. I can create, look at something. You have new folder. If I click on new folder, what am I doing? I can create this folder and call it my files. My files. That is a new folder. I click in it. Now, I want to save this file. I want to call this file class 24. Now, this is a file I'm creating. If I click on save, I have saved this document. Now, what I have done, I have used what we call graphical user interface to achieve this process. You see that? That's what I've done. Because there are two options. The second option is what we call command line interface. Command line interface. You see that? Command line interface. Now, these are the two that we have. CLI. Either you use GUI or CLI. Now, I have created a file using, because this is what you have been doing most of the time. Okay, this is what we call managing your server using graphical user interface. But now we can use commands to achieve that. For me to use command, I'm going to need a command terminal. Take note. For me to use command, I'm going to need a terminal. You see that? Now, if you have an Apple computer, Mac OS, you see something they call terminal. You see that? So for me to run commands, I'm going to use terminal, for Mac operating system, Mac. Let me come here. Mac OS. Now, this is for Mac. Now, what else can I use? I can use Git bash. You see that? I can use Git bash. Now, Git bash is going to give me a terminal. I can also use Powershell. You see that? Please look at something. If you were going to use commands, then you are going to need the terminal where you can execute that command. Now, when you buy a Windows computer, it comes with Powershell. It also comes with what we call command prompt. Command prompt. You see that? So you can use Powershell or command prompt, or you can use some other software that you would download and install. You see that? So we have Powershell, command prompt. What else can we use? We can use Git bash. Now, we also saw mobile extend. You can use mobile extend to achieve the same purpose. Now, look at something, please. I just created a Word document, using graphical user interface. If I want to create a document, using commands, you see that? How will I achieve that? That's what took us to what we call Linux commands. You see that? Linux commands. That's why we are studying Linux commands. Because in as much as we can manage, resources in our server using the graphical user interface, we can do the same using commands. And if we use commands, what do we need to use commands? Command line interface. So please take note, is very important. So what did we realize? We realized for this to be achieved, normally we should go and buy very powerful servers to do this course. You see that? We had to go, and buy servers to do this course. But that was not necessary because now we have a company called AWS, Amazon Web Services. You see that? So what we are doing is that we can use Amazon Web Services. Who else can we use? We can use Google Cloud Platform or Microsoft Azure. You see that? Now, these are the different companies that are providing server services, or what we call cloud computing services. So what is happening is that all these companies, okay, what they have done is that they have created their data centers across the world. In that data centers, what are they doing there? Now they have a lot of servers that they have configured. Those servers are running, and what they are doing is they are renting those servers to third parties. So you don't need to go to the market and buy a very big Linux server, a supercomputer. You can get that by renting, okay, whatever computing space that you need from AWS, Amazon Web Services, or from GCP, which is, okay, Google Cloud Platform or Microsoft Azure. Now, this is what we realize. So we have a computer, we want to manage that computer, and we want to use command line interface to manage the computer. The computer is not available on our site. Where is it available? It is hosted by AWS. You see that? So this is what is happening. So now, the first computer that we had configured, or the first server, we had to configure a Red Hat Linux server, Linux. So we had to configure a Red Hat Linux server. Now, that server, we are not going to buy the server from the market. What are we doing? We are getting the server from AWS. That's what is happening. So for that to happen, what do we have to act? Because if you are not hosting the server on-prem, okay, now someone else is hosting the server for you. The big question is, how do you access that server? You see that? How do you access the server? Now, for us to access that server, you need to have your own computer. And in that case, you have a Windows laptop. You see that? What do you have? You have a Windows laptop. Okay, you have rented server from AWS. That is computer space from AWS. Now, you have a Windows laptop. Having that Windows laptop alone is insufficient. What do you need to be installed in that laptop? You need some softwares. Remember we said a computer, you have to manage what? Files, users, packages, and more. You see that? And more. Now look at something. You need to now, you have a Windows laptop, you need to install a package, and that package is called Mobile Extend. This is a software. How did we install Mobile Extend? Did you use commands to install Mobile Extend, or you had used graphical user interface? Can someone answer? How did we install Mobile Extend in this class?
Graphical.
Graphical
User interface.
We had used the GUI. Remember, we used GUI, graphical user interface, because we simply went online. Look at what we did. We went online and we were searching for Mobile Extend. So what did we do? We went to Google and we searched for an application. Now, when you are doing all of this, this is graphical user interface. You see that? Or like what we are trying to do now, okay, we are not using commands. As we proceed with the course, you will realize there is a command you can use to download packages. But what did we do? We went and searched for Mobile Extend. You see that? We searched for Mobile Extend, and Mobile Extend appeared. We realized, okay, we can download this guy. You see that? Let me come back here. Download. Now, this is what we got. When we search for Mobile Extend, now when you click here to download, you are using graphical user interface. Now, we could as well download this software using commands. So please take note, it's very important. So now, if you have not done this, just click on download, okay, and download mobile XTEM and install it on your laptop. How did we achieve that? We achieved that process using graphical user interface. So since we have this installed, mobile XTEM, what does it do? It gives us a terminal like this. Can you see the terminal? So this is a terminal. This is our mobile XTEM. It gives us a terminal where, okay, we can manage our server in AWS. So this is the terminal. Something like this. You see that? So if you have mobile XTEM, you have something like this. This is the mobile XTEM terminal. You see that? This is your terminal. So please take note, it's important. So we have installed mobile XTEM, and because we have mobile XTEM installed, we can now use the terminal that mobile XTEM provides to access our Red Hat Linux server, which we have installed in AWS. So our server is hosted by AWS. So we need a software to access that server. What are we using? Mobile XTEM. Please take note. Apart of mobile XTEM, what else could we have used? We can use Git Bash. We can use Pwd. Or we can even use the software that came with our computer. Okay, that software is called Powershell and Command Prompt. Now, this one came with our computer. So please take note. So this is what we have been able to see so far. What else did we realize? We realized this is for a Windows laptop. Assuming you are in this class and your laptop is an Apple laptop, Mac OS. How will you achieve this same? Okay, all you need to do is to go to your terminal, because the Apple laptop comes with a terminal, and access it. So please take note, it's very important. Now, so these are stuff that you need to pay very close attention to. Now that I have a server or a computer, what can I do with the computer? I can manage my files. And when I'm talking about files here, this file include what, please? It also includes folders. You see that? So when you see file management, it is files and folders, or in Linux, files and directories. So please take note. We're able to see all of that. You see that? And we even saw the history of Linux, how Linux started by by someone called Linus. This guy was studying in Finland, Helsinki University in 1991. At the time, they used to use an operating system called Solaris, Sun Systems. And this operating system, for you to get it, you had to pay for it. You see that? It was paid. It was not a free operating system. Therefore, if you have any problem, you need to wait for the vendor to solve the problem for you. So this guy was doing his projects. He had a problem, and it took the vendor forever to get back to him. And while the vendor was delaying, he began to ask himself, why should everybody be waiting, to have help from one person? Is there no other way we can find help? He began to ask himself questions. So he realized the problem he had was an opportunity. That's why it is said that necessity is the mother of invention. That is Esther Bossop in her population theory. She said, she countered, Malthus, who said, if there is a growth in population, resources will not grow as much as the way population is growing. Esther said that theorem, she doesn't buy into that. For necessity is the mother of invention. If you have one child, you know that you have to provide this much. If you have 10 children, you should know that you have to provide, for 10 children. Now, but look at something. This is how Linux started the Linux operating system, and he made it free. You see that? But he developed Linux from the Solaris kernel. He made it free and open source for everybody to now, if you have a problem, you can do, because since it is free, it got a very powerful community online. So if you have a problem, and if you click on, I have this problem with my Linux server, you will have at least 1,000 response, because somebody may have faced the same problem before. You are now encountering the problem. So please take note. And that is why, because Linus made it free, other people could now come out with different distribution of Linux operating system. But the closest competitor of Linux is Windows. The founder is Bill Gates. Bill Gates never made Windows free. So you can't just take the Windows kernel and develop yours from there, because Windows you have to pay for. That's the difference. So please take note. So having understood all of this, we realize now, if you get into a Linux server, what are you trying to achieve initially? You want to check for files and directories. In Linux, directories, folders are called directories. So please take note about that. So we're able to see all of that. Now, what else did we realize? We realized that, our server is in AWS, but in real time, our company is going to have many people working. So if you have a single server, you can have like 50 members of your team trying to access that server to perform different tasks depending on their projects and what they have been assigned to do. So please take note. But we have already seen how all of that can be achieved. Now, so we went ahead to look at the Linux file structure. And in the Linux file structure, we realized it starts with a slash. This slash is called root directory. You see that? It's called root directory. That's what this slash is called. So this is a folder. A folder in Linux is called directory. That's what we realize. Now, in this root directory, there are other subdirectories. Like we have the home or subfolders. You can call it, folder and subfolder. But please, going forward, it is directory and subdirectories. Now, in this root directory, we have subdirectory like home. Home is where all users are found. Like, remember we said we are going to be creating and managing users in our server. So if you want to get information about users, check it in the home directory. You see that? We also saw the var directory. You see that? We saw the OPT, where if you are trying to install packages, as we are going to be seeing, in Linux operating system, those packages are going to be installed in the OPT directory. We also saw the bin. Remember, we are talking about commands. And we realized that now these bin are binaries. Binary files are commands. Like all the commands that we are going to be executing are found. Those are binary files found in the bin directory. Now, but we saw that in any computer, now all the users will not have the same level of privileges. Some users are going to be classified normal users. You see that? Others are going to be classified administrator. So now the administrator in Linux, when you install a Linux server, it comes with a user called root user. So when you install your Linux server, it comes with a user called root. The root user is the administrator. Now, this administrator got, some privileges. Those privileges is what we call root privileges or super user privileges. Now, there are some users who cannot execute certain binary files. Those binary files are for privileged users, for super users, super binary files, or what we call system bin. So you need to be in the super doers file to execute commands in the system bin directory. That's what we saw. However, both bin and system bin or sbin, they contains binary files. Binary files are files that are used to execute commands. Now, we also saw the etc directory, where most configuration files are found. We saw the lib directory, library files. And we saw the temp directory, where we can, create temporal files and save them there. So please take note. That is what we saw. You see that? So it's very important that we have that understanding. Now, after going through all those directory structure, we now went ahead to look at Linux commands. And the very first command we saw is called make directory, mkdir, which is used to create a directory. Very simple command. If once we execute this command, we create a directory. Now, we also saw, how do we know the directory has been created? We can use the ls command, which is used to do what? To list files and directories. So the ls command will list files and directories. So this is the importance of this command, ls. ls means list. You see that? ls means list. And it will list files and directory. You see that? This is what we saw. Make directory will create a directory. ls will list the directory and the files. Now, a part of listing directories, what else did we look at? We realized we can list directory in a tree format. Interestingly enough, the command to do that is called tree command. And look at something very interesting. When we try to execute the tree command, we got an error message informing us that this command cannot be found. Tree command not found. Which implies this command is not available on our server. Big question. How can you install packages in any computer, be it a normal computer or a supercomputer, which is a server? Remember, we said we can use the graphical user interface to achieve that, or we can use commands. So we had to execute a very simple command called yum install tree. You see that? Once we executed this command, okay, tree package is installed for us. So please take note, it's important. Now, we have equally discussed that in any server, we are going to have users, and those users are classified into 3 broad groups. Like if you were asked in an interview, okay, what are the different groups of users in a Linux computer or in a Linux operating system? That's an interview question. The answer is, we have 3 categories of users: normal users, okay, root user, and system users. You see that the root user is the admin. So these are the 3 broad categories of users. Therefore, if you are managing users, you need to be very careful, because a part of users, we equally saw that if you went through the video on YouTube, we also have groups. You see that? We also have to manage groups, because we will need to classify users in groups. So now, if we have users, okay, we also have.
Prof.
Yes.
Prof, what are system users? If root users are admin, what are system users?
Now, a system user is a user that is installed, that is created in your system when you try, okay, to install a package. You see that? Please, as we proceed with the course, you will understand that better, because there are packages that we are going to install, softwares like Jenkins. When we get to Jenkins and install Jenkins, it will create a user called Jenkins user. So any user that we did not create, that the system create, remember, what do we mean by the system? We are talking about a Linux operating system. That is a Linux server. So now, if you are trying to install a package in your Linux server, and as you are installing that package creates a user that you did not create, that user has been created by the system. As such, it is called a system user. Okay. So please take note. It's just like we had installed Mobile Extend. Assuming in an attempt to install Mobile Extend installed a user on your laptop called Mobile Extend. Are you the one that, you know, created that user? You are not the one. You just installed Mobile Extend, and Mobile Extend created a user. So we are going to call that user a system user. So please take note. Now, a normal user is any user that is created in the server. That's a normal user. Now, look at something, please. Very important concept, group management. So a part of managing users, we need to manage groups. You see that? So group management, okay, is very important. So let me just add group management. Okay, group management is important. How can we manage groups in a Linux operating system? Now, look at something. You are working and you realize you have DevOps engineers. Okay, these are engineers, senior folks. Okay, in a company. Now, you have developers as well. Developers. Now, developers. Now, let's just take these two, you know, these are two groups that we have. We have DevOps engineer, developers. Okay, let's say we equally have, we have
DBS. DBS.
Okay. Now, we have interns, okay, people that come to the company for training. We need to grant them certain access. Now, look at something. DevOps engineer is a group. Developer is a group. Interns is a group. So, interns. Now, look at something, please. In your DevOps engineer, you have a user called Karen. Okay. Now, you have Roland. You see that? These are the users under DevOps engineer. So this is a group called DevOps engineer. Under this group, we have two users, Karen and Roland. Now, we also have developers. Under developers, we have Jane. You see that? We have Jane. Okay. Who else do we have? We have Tatiana. Now, look at something. For interns, let's say, okay, interns, you have Olu, you have James. Now, these are the interns. Look at something, please. So in your Linux server, you have DevOps engineers, developers, and interns. Now, one of your tasks is going to be, you are going to be ensuring that every user in the server is given, okay, the least required privilege. You see that list, users. Now, user management, okay, or user management, users should be given, okay, or should be assigned the least, okay, the least required privilege. You see that? Now, so if you have users, users should be assigned, okay, the least required privileges. For example, if you want somebody to just read a file, should you give that person write access? Just as, okay, now, assume that you have some interns. You say, please check the files in the temp directory, read them, okay, and let us know if you notice any issue. You see that? You want this guy to just read. Will you give the person write access? There's no point. So in the Linux operating system, it is required that, okay, you secure your servers by assigning least required privileges. Take note about that. Okay, we have to assign least required privileges to users. Therefore, now look at something. For DevOps engineer, we want to grant them, okay, pseudo privileges. So which implies we are going to add this guy to become super users. You see that? So DevOps engineers, we assign them to become super users. Why? Because we want them to perform a lot of tasks. So they are the bosses. Now, developers, we give them normal, okay, normal users. These guys are normal users. There are things we don't want them to do. For the intern, okay, we assign normal users or restricted users. Let me just call it restricted. These guys are restricted users. Okay. Restricted users. Now, so these are three broad categories. These users are restricted. Maybe they can't even create files. You see that? They can't create normal, okay, users can create files. They can modify files. Super users can not only create files, they can also create other users in your server. So this is group management, which implies as a DevOps engineer, before you assign any user in any group, you must ensure that that user is permitted to be in that group. So please take note, it's very important. So these are stuff that we have been able to look at. And we realize when you create a directory, you also have, you can equally delete that directory. Remember, how did we create mkdir? Okay, we use this command used to create directory. Now, remove dir, it is used to delete empty directories. So the same way you created, okay, it is possible for us to delete files and directories. So please take note, this is at the level of directories. Now, what else did we look at so far? We have seen what we call file management. We have seen how to manage our files. But now there is one more thing I've not discussed here, which I should still highlight. There is one very important command that we saw. Which command do you use to change a directory, to move from one directory to another? Which command is that? Which command did we use to move directory?
CD dash.
We use a CD command.
Yeah.
This CD means change directory. You see that? So this is the command we use. See how simple the commands are. CD, change directory. For example, now if I create
I have a question
directory,
about that, please.
pardon?
I'm sorry, I have a question about the change directory.
Okay.
So as I was practicing, I tried to do the change directory going from one major, like the DevOps directory to another directory, which at the time was the SDLC. But for some odd reason, it wouldn't let me do that smoothly. So I realized that I was able to do CD dash to go backwards, but to go forward, it wasn't that easy. I did figure it out, but I'm trying to see, is it something that is there an easier way to do CD and moving forward, or it just goes backwards?
Okay, now look at something, please. She's asking a question like what we saw here. These are directories that we created in our saver. We created this directory. You see that? Let me come back here. We did make directory, and these directories were created in a child-parent structure. And we realized that for us to achieve this, we had to pass another option, which is a -p option. You see that? -p, because if you execute this command, the assumption is that if you don't use -p, the assumption is DevOps directory has been created. That is, all this has been created. And what you are trying to create is what? Nexus. You see that? So, but if you are trying to create Nexus and there is no Marvin, there's no Git, there's no Jenkins, it wouldn't be created. So for you to achieve that, you have to use the -p option, parent. And if you want the saver to tell you if the directory has been created or not, you have to use the -v option for verbose, PV. You see that? So now look at something. What she's saying is she could change directory with a CD command. Okay, by moving from one directory to another directory. But now it was easier for her to move from Nexus directory to Git. Okay, using what? She had used cd ... okay, slash ... // Now, if you are in Nexus, if you want to go one directory behind, you are going to do cd ... So the first double dot will take you from Nexus to Marvin. You see that? Now, if you execute, okay, ... again, ... it takes you from Marvin to Git. The third, it takes you from Git to Jenkins. So cd ... okay, /... it moves you 1, 2, 3 directories behind. If you wanted to move just one directory behind, it would just be what? cd ... With cd ... it will move you from Nexus to Marvin. We're able to realize that option. But if you want to keep moving, okay, you use a /. That's what is going to happen. But now, after you have moved, if you want to go back to where you were before, it's going to be cd what, please? That is, you were in Nexus, okay, and you move to DevOps. You want to go back to Nexus. What option can you use? CD-. You see that? Or CD-. Is okay. It will take you back to where you were before. So please take note, Tatiana. If you go by, okay, if you do cd, okay, ... it takes you one directory behind. cd- will take you to where you were before. So please take note. However, these are just options. What you should take note is that 90% of the time, you'll be doing something like this: cd directory name, like Nexus. You see that? What have you done? You have moved into Nexus. If you do cd Nexus, it means that wherever, now you have changed from where you were to Nexus. So please take note. So this is this change directory command that we're able to look at. Now, let's look at the command line. I think we have our command line here. Let me do ls and see what we have. Now, this is our command line. I want to cd into Nexus. You see that? If I want to cd into Nexus, what do? I'll do something like this: cd You see that? CD. Now, CD into DevOps. From DevOps, move to software development lifecycle. From there, CD into Linux, CD into Jenkins, into Git, into Maven, into Nexus. Now, enter. Where am I now? Where am I? I am in Nexus. So how do I know where am I? Pwd command. So if I do Pwd, it tells me where I am now. I am, okay, in the Nexus directory. But now, if I want to come back to where I was before, this is where I was before, okay? I'll just do CD dash like that, enter. Can you see? Where am I now? I'm in the home of EC2. If I want to go back, okay, I do CD dash. Where am I now? I'm in Nexus. You see that?
Okay.
So this is
Prof.
Yes.
Quickly, when you want to move to Nexus, right? Do you need to put this DevOps, SDLC, Nexus? Why can't you just say CD Nexus and it will take you straight to Nexus?
Okay, now look at what he's saying. Let me just do CD and go back to where I was. Okay, now Pwd, where am I? I'm inside the home of EC2. Okay, if I do CD Nexus,
okay,
what am I told?
okay.
No file or directory is it?
No file or directory, because Nexus, okay, is, look at something. LS, do you see Nexus here?
No.
Do we have Nexus now? Pwd. I am in the home of EC2. There is no Nexus in the home of EC2. You see that? There is no Nexus directory in the home of EC2. Where is Nexus? Nexus is in Maven. Maven is in Git. Git is in Jenkins. Jenkins in Linux. Linux is in software development lifecycle, while software development lifecycle is in DevOps. Therefore, if I want to move to Nexus, I need to execute this entire command. You see that? Or if you don't want to do that, you can execute this command like an intent. Let me show you what an intent would do. Okay, I'll copy this stuff and bring it here. Let me show you what an intent would do. An intent is going to execute this command like the intent will do something like this. Do CD DevOps. Okay. Now, when he's inside DevOps, he will run one more command, CD, okay, SDLC. Look at something. The next command will be CD Linux. Can you see that? No, sorry, Linux. CD Linux. Okay, he will keep doing CD because when you do CD DevOps, you'll be inside DevOps. Now this file is now SDLC is in DevOps. So in DevOps, okay, you will CD into this file, into this directory. Now, while you are here, you change directory into Linux. You keep changing. You do CD Jenkins. You see that? What else will you do? You do CD Git.
CD Git, then CD Maven.
Okay. You do CD Maven. That's crazy. As a DevOps engineer, you shouldn't be doing this kind of manual work because you are in charge of automation. You do CD Nexus. You see that? This is, look at something. How many commands have you executed? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 commands. You are wasting the time of management. Because if we execute all of these commands, it would take us to Nexus. But we don't want to do this. We just want to get into Nexus with one command. So we are going to do something like this. You get the point? So please take note. But now, let me first of all execute the tree command. Let's see something. Now, what do we see in the tree command? What do we realize? Can you see that? Can you see DevOps? This is DevOps. In DevOps, DevOps got this file, 1, 2, 3 files, and 1 directory. This is a directory, SDLC. Now, in SDLC, there is Linux. In Linux, there is Jenkins. Jenkins, there is Git, Git Marvin, Marvin Nexus. So this is what we got. You see that? As a DevOps engineer, it is your task to ensure that you help your company to automate their processes. So what am I going to do? I'm a DevOps engineer. I'll do something like this. I'll copy this command, paste it, cd. Where am I? I'm in Nexus. I can't run all these commands to get to Nexus. So please take note. It's important. So we understood directory management, how to manage our directory. We understood all of that. And from there, we move into files. And we also saw how, how to list the files and directory. How can we list it? ls is going to tell us the files and directory that we have. But now, if we want to get a long list, what do? ls-l. It gives us a long list. Now, interview question. Which command is used to review hidden files and directory? If you want to review hidden files and directory, which command will you execute?
ls-a.
ls-a. If you do ls-a, if you see any file that starts with a dot, that is a hidden file. Or we can do, okay, LA, you see that? Any file that starts with a dot, like .bash RC, these are hidden files. So please take note. It's very important. So this is what we have been able to look at when it comes to file to directory management. Now, we look at file management. How do we create a file? Very simple command. Touch is going to create a file for us. So if I'm trying to create a file, okay, now let me cd into DevOps. Cd into DevOps. Okay, now let me cd into SDLC. I'm inside this directory. You see this? Now, how do I know where I am currently working, please? Which command is used to play where I'm currently working?
Pwd.
Thank you so much. So Pwd command will tell me that I am in SDLC. If I want to know if there are files here, I do ls. Okay, I have just one directory called Linux.
Yes, sir. What you need?
Let's assume that I want to create a file in this directory. What do? I can just do touch command. Very interesting. Touch. Touch is going to create a file. Let me just create a file called, let me touch and create it. I want to call a file called class 24. That is going to be a text file, .txt. Enter. If I now do ls, can you see? Now I have class 24 and I have Linux. This class 24 is a file. Linux is a directory. Now I can do ls-ltr. Now this is a long list. Okay, it has informed me that I have this file and this directory using the touch command. And we also saw the echo command, like you can use the echo command as well. Okay, this echo command will just throw some content at you. Echo class 24, okay, is going to be great. You see that? Can you see? Echo command is just used to display the same information that you are trying to enter back to you. That's the echo command. But the echo command is so powerful that we can use this command and pass one other option to create a file. You see that? We saw that, for example, let me rerun this. I can echo class 24 is going to be great, and I redirect it into a file called, okay, class 24.txt. Remember, I had created this file before. If I do enter, you see, now this information that was displayed to me before is not displayed anymore. Which command do we use to display the content of a file? Which command?
Vim or vi.
Okay, the content of a file is the cat command. If you want to read the content of a file, use cat command. Now, let us do ls. We have a file called class24. So if I do cat class24, can you see the content of that file? Class24 is going to be great. How did I add content to this file? Remember, I had created the file using the touch command. When I created the file, there was no content because touch is used to create an empty file, no content. But look at what I did here. I said,
Use echo.
I echoed this information.
I use the forward
I
slash,
redirected
the forward.
it into this file. You see that? So now, this is how powerful the echo command is. So please take note, it's very important. Echo class24 is going to be great. Now, we also saw that we can use the VI or Vim to add content to a file. So please take note. And that's when we spoke about text editors. And it was recommended that we should download and install Sublime Text. How are we going to install Sublime Text on our laptop? What are we going to use? GUI. So use Graphical User Interface to install Sublime Text. But Sublime Text is a text editor. Like what I am using now to type my note, running note for this class is Sublime Text. We can also use Visual Studio Code. It's something like this. Let me show you. I think I have my Visual Studio Code because I'm preparing some notes for Python because we'll be doing Python in this class. VS Code. I've not done Python in the previous classes before with the 100% job guarantee we have without Python. So you can be imagine what you should be expecting as, you know, when we add Python, you know. So this is VS Code. You see that? This is VS Code. VS Code is something like this. It's something like this. You see that? This is VS Code. Can you see this? This VS Code. So you can install VS Code. It's something like this. Okay? You can install VS Code. These are just some, you know, you can create a simple file in VS Code. So VS Code is so please download and install VS Code in your computer. But we are going to need this VS Code when we get to Python. And we are going to get to Python after we have finished Bash shell scripting and Git and GitHub. So take note about that. So now, so you don't need to install it now, but if you can just install Visual, okay, Studio Code, that's okay. But when we get to Python, I'm going to demonstrate how you can install, like all of these are Python files, file operations. You see that how to open a file, you know, they are Python files. So please take note. I think I have another Python file. Let me see, test.py. These are Python files, you know. But so please take note about that. Our main focus there will just be to understand what you can, how you can use Python as a DevOps engineer, not as a developer. Developers are the one that will use Python for programming. You just use Python for automation. We are going to use Python for automation. Okay, the same way we are going to use Bash shell scripting for automation, we'll equally use Python for automation. Very simple process. Now, so please take note. So we can use all of these, okay, to write our files. Like in real time, right? If you are trying to, remember how we saw how to use VI? Okay, for example, I can do something like VI. Let me create a file using VI. VI test.py. It's a Python file. Now, this file can just be a hello world file. So okay. Now, when you use VI, the first thing to do, you need to change to what? To insert mode. So what I can do here is that if you use okay, if you try to use an IDE like this, now let me create a Python file here. I'm going to create a Python file. I'm going to call that file. Let me just call the file test.py, test.py.py. Now, when the file ends with py, it means it is a Python file. So I can do something like this. Print. Okay, can you see? Print hello world. You see that? Now, this is a simple script that print hello world. You see that? Now, remember how we saw the echo command? Echo, when you do echo, okay, hello world, let me come here, echo. What I'm doing now is what I should do when we get to bash shell scripting. Okay, but let me just illustrate something. Now, if you execute, okay, echo hello world, look at what I'm going to do. This is a file. Okay, now, let me just copy these 2 lines of file. I will not execute it as a script now, but let me just do something like this. Now, look at something, please. These are 2 lines of file. Now, in bash shell scripting, echo is used to print data. You see that? Like if you're trying to print a data, if you do echo hello world, it's going to print data for you. But now in Python, if I want to do the same, this is what I am going to do. Instead of me to use, okay, echo, I'll use print. You see that? So please take note. So in bash shell, we have hello world, echo hello world. In Python, it is print. So please take note. Let me just come out from this. So, but now, how did I get here? All I have to do is, you can actually use text editors like this, which implies in real time at work, right? You won't just come into VI and you are typing things. If you are trying to create a large file, you can type everything that you want to type. You see that? You can say something again like echo, 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 Jesus is Lord. Something like that. You see that? Just passing some word. Okay, echo. We just want to print this information. DevOps is truly an enviable career. You see that? Just want to echo different stuff. Echo, do DevOps now, or study DevOps. And this is a good thing with text editors. When I'm trying to type, okay, since I have typed that information before, it tried to complete it for me. But now, when we get to bash shell scripting, you will realize something that is very interesting. You will realize that a script, okay, a script is a command. A script is a command. You see that? A script is a command. Therefore, if this is a script, echo is a command. All of these are commands. You see that? Now, we could equally say that a script, okay, how many commands do we have in this file? We have 2. I can copy all of this as well. Let me copy. Now, if I want to paste, I just right click, I've pasted. Now, look at something. How many commands do I have here? This is also a command, print. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 commands. So what is a script? A script is a collection of commands, 1 or more commands. So a script is a command. A script is a collection of commands. That is a script. You see that? So this is a simple script. So when we get to bash shell scripting, don't be alarmed. We'll just be combining commands like this together, and we achieve our tasks. So please take note, it's very important. So now, let me we have created this file. We did not type in this file directly. If we wanted to type directly, okay, you see that I can just do something like N, I've typed, but this is how you use, okay, Shift ZZ, I save and quit. So I have created a file called test.py using VI. If I want to know the content of that file, what should I do? Cat test.py. It will display the content. It's that simple. Cat test.py, it displays the content. So please, this is what you need to have a good understanding of. And that's why if you look at the running node, we are saying now, rather than you using Vim or VI, you can just use a text editor, create your file, copy and paste. Because with VI, all Control ZZ, change to command mode, come back to insert mode, you know what I'm saying? You know, you will not need to do all of that. You just use a nice text editor like this, copy everything, copy and paste. So please take note about that, is important. However, there are existing files that you will still need to VI into them, change whatever you want to change and come out of it. So please take note. So we went through, okay, file management commands, how to manage our files. We saw all of that. You see that? And displaying or reading the content of a file. Very interesting aspect. How do I display or read the content in a file or of a file? By using the cat command. This will enable me to read or display the content of the file. And if I use cat-n, okay, what will I get? I have line numbers or content plus line numbers. Well, let me just put it, line numbers plus what? Plus file content. So if you use cat-n, okay, file name, take note, is going to display line numbers plus file content. Therefore, let us come back here and do cat-n and see what we get. Can you see? These are the line numbers. So please take note, it's important. Now, we also went to look at the head command, which would display the first 10 lines of a file. We saw the tail command, which would display the last 10 lines of a file. Very important concept. And we saw that we could equally do head-5. If we do, for example, how many lines do we have here? 11 lines, right? So if we pass head-5, okay, test.py, it's going to display the first 5 lines. So please take note. If we do tail.5, it displays the last 10 lines. So very important. Now, we also look at a concept called relative path and absolute path. Look at something.
Dark.
I want to show us something again in this relative and absolute path. Is someone trying to ask a question?
Yes.
Okay. Go ahead.
We didn't do relative path and absolute path.
Okay, we didn't do that? Okay,
No.
Now, let me show you something. When we talk about relative path and absolute path, what are we talking about? Now, absolute path, okay, start from the root directory. You see that? It starts from the root directory. And what is the root directory, please? It's slash. This is where absolute path start. Absolute path start from the root directory. Now, look at something very interesting. I'm going to copy the same directory that we're working on this directory. You see that now? Look at, I'm going to illustrate absolute path and relative path, okay, using this particular option. Now look at something, please. Look at this file here. This is a file. You see that? Now, let me come back here. Let's get into our saver and see something. In this saver, if we do ls, what do we have? We have class 24. Okay, this is a file. Watch me closely. Now, pwd, look at where I am. I am in /home /ec2 /devops /what? SDLC. Now, if I do cat test.txt, look at something, please. This is relative path. If I want to check this file using the absolute path, I'll do something like this. I'll do cat. Now look at something, please. Look at where this file is found. This file is found where? Where is this file found? The file is called test. Now, the same command, cat test.py, it displays the content, relative path. Now, if I execute the same command like this, let's see what happens. Can you see the content displayed? The content is displayed. So what happens is that relative path, okay, is start from relative path, start from pwd. You see that? It starts from your present working directory. Because look at what is happening here. Let me come here. Now, let me clear my screen. Let me VR into test.py and just correct some stuff in this file. I just want to delete some of the lines. For you to delete, just do dd. Now, I have deleted some lines in this file. Now, look at something, please. If I do cat test, this is my file. Can you see? This is my file. Now, when you start from pwd, relative path start from pwd. Absolute path start from /root. So now, the same command, pwd, where am I? Look at where I am now. This is where I'm found. So where is this file? This file is in SDLC. So I'll do /file name. You see that? Test.py. Let me come back here. I'm not passing any option. Cat, file name, test. Now look at something. This same command, I was able to read this file. Okay, now if I use this command, cat /home /ec2 /devops, okay, I'm able to read the same file. This is the main difference between relative and absolute path. Relative path start from the root directory, whereas absolute path start from pwd, where you are currently working. So
Prof, excuse me, there's something you said that when you want to delete, you do dd.
Yes, that is to say, if you are trying to delete, if you do vi, okay, for example, if you do vi and you want to delete a particular line, like for example, let me just type something like Jebris, you see that? Now, if I want to delete this line, okay, these two lines, right? Yeah. I can do dd, okay, I think I should, let me see something, vim. Okay, now type I to enter insert mode. You see that? Type escape to enter command mode. Now in command mode, in command mode, you see that you can type. Now in command mode, type dd, okay, to delete the line.
Okay.
In command mode, you must be in command mode. In
Okay, by
command mode,
typing the
type
escape, then you
dd
cannot do that.
to delete the line. If you are in insert mode, if I do dd, it will just add more data. You see that? I do dd, it add data. So for me to do dd, I have to go to, I press escape and enter command mode. So now if I do dd, that line is deleted. dd, the other line is deleted. So please take note. So now, this is what we have been able to see when it comes to file management. The relative part of a file and the relative part of a directory. Very important. For example, I can do, okay, ls-l, look at something. It gives me this information. Now, I can still do ls-l, okay, and I want to pass the relative, the absolute path. Okay, look at something, please. Absolute path, enter. Do I have the same data? Yes, I do. This is absolute. This is ls-l. This is what? Relative.
Relative.
So please take note. Very important. What else did we look at? We look at file permissions. Okay, we look at file permissions. That if you create a file, the file is going to be assigned certain permissions. So please take note.
Excuse me, Prof. I have a question.
Yes.
If you are in the insert mode, how do you go to the command mode?
Press the escape key. Okay.
Okay.
Yes. Please make sure that you go through. And like now, I'm updating this note today. Okay. And I'll still share it to us.
Okay.
So what do? Type escape, ESC, to enter command mode.
Okay. ESC.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. So please take note. We saw file permissions. We also saw permission attribute, that a file can have read access, write, or execute. So please take note. We saw default permission for files. So it's very important that you have this understanding, because see, this issue is not just about commands, because in most interviews, they will want you to be able to explain the facts. Like the student that had a job today, you know, as a matter of fact, he's still expecting like 2 more offers. You see that? But there is something I tell them, like the interview he had that gave him the job today, him and I did the interview, the final interview prep yesterday from 6 a.m. in the morning. And we're just going through the job description and looking at where questions could possibly be asked. And I was informing him, just as I always inform all our students, you know, the interviewer is what is going to enable you to win in the interview is the way you discuss the facts. Because most of the time you won't be running commands. You will not. They'll just want you to explain to them, why are you doing all of this? So if you understand the reason why you are trying to achieve that, it becomes very easy for you to go through any interview as well. So please take note. So we had established this entire end-to-end, okay, file management, which is very important. I think I've gone beyond what we did. So let's have our break. We are going to be back at 8:50. Well, let me see. Yes, we're going to back at 8:50. I just want to do a review of all the things we've been able to look at so far, so that you know you have a better understanding of what is happening and why you are doing all of that. So we're back here at 8:50.
Hello, Prof.
Prof is gone for break.
Prof is gone. It's still there.
Prof, can I ask a question?
It's called break.
Relax, go and relax, look for something, look for a snack.
I know, right?
Actually, go take 15 minutes running, something.
Thank you.
Make the blood flow.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Right.
Even if it's a bowl of Eba.
Oh,
And
no.
sleep
You can
for
see, ask your
15 minutes.
question.
Alright.
Everybody is on there.
Yeah, ask a question, bro. Yeah, stay here.
Can someone re-explain the absolute part and the relative part again? If you understood.
The relative part starts from Pwd, meaning that you can execute a command when you are in the present working directory, while the absolute part starts from the root directory. I don't know if you're understanding me.
Thank you.
So if I want to add to what she said, the way I understand it, you don't have to list those lengthy Nexus, Jenkins, and put in the slash which represents root. If you're using the relative part, but for the absolute, you have to list all those things, and then end with a slash which is said represents the root directory or something.
Okay, to further explain it, I would like to tell you what the computer does. If you type in the relative parts, so what the computer does is like it searches everywhere in that particular user for that file. So, but for absolute part, it goes straight to the directory you indicated. So sometimes it's actually advisable to use relative part because you're tasking the PC to, okay, search everywhere, just like you're in a room, right? And you want to ask somebody to get to your key. Relative part would be, there is a key on the desk, go get it for me. While absolute part would be, okay, say I want to ask you, tell you the same question, I would say, go to the room at the back of the black desk, get me the key. So that is an absolute part. There's no deviation. I don't know whether you get it.
Yes, I do. That's great. Thank you.
Hello? Hello? Yes, so. Huh? You see me? Okay, all right. Because I don't be see you first. I want to say whether you did class. Yeah, that's good. This stuff you don't want to miss.
Dog, I see you too. I don't say you don't modify your background.
DevOps engineer, senior DevOps engineer. Only a background, you tell everything.
I swear to God.
They just get BB named them for no nothing.
Hey, Sembe.
Yes, Doc.
How you doing, bro?
No, I'm doing good. I'm doing good. I didn't see only money. I didn't see only money. I didn't see only money where boys that they get. I didn't see man with a Chris before come back for normal. Only the money where I see. I'm a miss. I just.
Bro, don't worry. You'll get there. You'll get there.
Jeez.
This is our time.
That's true. That's true. That's
yeah.
True.
Uncle Roland, I see you.
Hey, mommy.
Uncle Roland, are you trying me so? I didn't mind me.
Shimon. My sister, don't leave us so.
Your money don't come now. You
Yeah. Just leave us so. The condition achieved very critical.
It is okay. It's gonna be right.
Prof said it that you have to cut off some people to achieve this score. So I'm sure Uncle Ude has cut off Shimen.
I tell you all, thank you, Sherry. Hey, Uncle Abek Sherry.
Oh.
And just It's not hot. No. Right. Efebe, when did you come back?
I come on Sunday.
Okay.
I come on Sunday. I did it on Sunday. Man, the place sweet very bad. This is my remember. This is a fine work for you one time.
Remain. Your presence not be important for you. Remain then.
Well, I don't need me.
You can go. We don't need you.
I swear to God.
Stay where
No,
you
if I stay here 2 weeks, now you go call. Hey, Sembe, what say you did?
It's me. You now you disservice me. I bet more for this.
You know that be king for Colorado Spring now.
More for this. You be waiting.
I be king.
You be king for queendom.
Yeah.
You be king for your queendom. No worry. You'll come back.
Come on Sunday.
All right.
Granted you.
We have staff LFS like a simplify. We don't. We have simplify, but we can untitlify by running this command. Tar-x here, staff LFS of part of DJ. Okay, but the LS.
Angel.
You have reached mailbox number.
Please make sure that your video is switched on. Okay, so let's try to make some progress as we understand the big picture when it comes to Linux commands again. So far, we saw how we could manage files, manage users, in our Linux operating system. Okay. So we have seen how we can manage our files, how we can create files, how we can delete files, how we can assign permissions to files. So we equally saw the concept of Umax, how we can use the Umax value to assign default permissions that relates to files and directories, which is very important for us to have that understanding. And and one other thing that we also saw when it comes to file management was the fact that when you have created a file, you can modify the permissions of that file. It's very possible to modify the permissions of the file. How do you modify the permissions? You use the chmod command. You see that the chmod, this is the command that we use to change the permissions of a file. Like we created a file called what? Test.py. We created a file called test.py or test.py. Now, when we create this file is going to come with a certain with permissions, by default 664 permissions. And when we say 664, what we are saying there is that the file is going to have read write, and read permissions. So as a normal user, if you create a file in Linux, now there are 3 people that can manage the file.
Prof, can you unmute everybody, please?
That can manage that file.
Thank you.
And these 3 groups that can manage the file, the first group is the owner of the file. You see that? So when you create a group, we have owner that owns the file. Now, the second broad category is the group. We have the group and we have others. So just like when you work in a company and you are assigned to do a specific task. Now, as a user, you are given access to your Linux server or to the company's Linux server. In those Linux servers, you can create a file. And how can you create this file? Touch command, use touch test.py, test.py. Now, when you execute this command, you have created this file. When this file is created, the file has, read-write permissions. Now, read-write is represented with 6 because it's actually 4 plus 2, because 4 for read, 2 for write. 4 plus 2, and here is just 4. So what is happening is that, as we saw, now any file and directory can be assigned, permissions. Those permissions are what we saw here. You see that these are the permissions. These are the default permissions for files and directory. Now, it can either be read, write, or execute. So if you have a file, the read permission is assigned a number. That number is 4. Write is 2. Execute is 1. Now, look at something. When we do something like this, ls, what are we doing? We are executing a command. It means that this ls is what? ls is a binary file, with executable permissions. Take note. Therefore, if you execute something like cat, what are you doing? If you do cat similarly, cat is a binary file, okay, with executable permissions. So cat is a bin file, okay, with what? With executable permissions. That's what cat is. When we say cat is a bin file, what does it imply? It means that cat is found in what? /bin. So in /bin, you will find this file called cat. So all of these are binaries. Now, listen to me closely. What is happening is that a file, a normal file, should have read and write access. That is what you should expect, right? That if you see a file, you should be able to read that file or modify the file. So if you are modifying the file or writing to the file, that is what we call write access. It means that you can write into that file. But now, if you can only read in the file, it means the file is available and you can read the file. But now, there is one other permission that is attached to files. And once you attach executable permission, that file becomes a script. Look at something, please. What do we mean by a script now? When I am trying to execute a command, what do? I do something like ls, right? What else can I do? I can do pwd. What else can I do? I can do cat. You see that now? When I'm doing this, these are all scripts. A script is a command. Did you see that? Or a script is a collection of commands. So please take note about that. Therefore, if I create my file as a script, okay, what do I do with that file? For me to execute that script or do something like this, / the file name, you see that? All I can do is / file name. For example, I created a file called test.py. So if I do / file name, okay, I can execute this as a script. Let's try that, please. Now, look at something. Let's do ls. We have this file, ls- or test.py. Now, if I do, let me just do test.py, test.py. Look at something. Enter. No, what did I leave out?
Left out the slash.
Yes, please. What am I told?
Permission denied.
There is no space in between the file. It's like this. I'm told that permission denied. Why is permission denied? Permission is denied because if I do ls-l test,
It's not an LSTL.
now, does this file have executable permission?
No.
It doesn't. So at this level, it is just a file. It is not a script. If I want it to be a script, what do I do? I'm going to attach executable permission to that file by doing something like this. I can do show mode. You see that? Show mode. I can just do 7. Okay. 700. You see that? If I do 700, it means I am attaching what? 7 plus 4, 7 plus 2 plus 1. which is 700, which is 7. 7 goes to who?
To the owner.
To the owner.
7 goes to the owner. Then the group is going to have what?
0.
No permission.
No permissions.
This permission is called 664 permission. You see that? Now, if I do 700 permission, it means I'm going to have, okay,
764.
Okay.
764.
Nothing and nothing. You see that? So this is called 700 permission. That's 700. Because the owner got read, write, execute, which is 4 plus 2 plus 1, 7. In that case, the owner got 7, others got 0. Okay, group got 0, others is 0. This is what we call 700 permission. You see that? Owner, group, and others. Now, if I want to pass 600 permission, what do I do? 600 is going to be what?
600.
It's going to be read write.
Read write.
0.
Dash and dash. You see that? This is 600 permission, which is the same as read is 2, right? 2 is read is 4. 4 plus 2 is what? 6. This guy will be 0. This guy will be 0. 600 permissions. You see that? So now I want to assign 700 permissions to this file. Show mode, okay, 700 test.py. Now, if I now do ls-l, what happened? Can you see the file color has changed? Because now it is a script. So if I re-execute the command, look at something. If I do this, // okay, test.py, enter. What am I told?
Unexpected error.
Unexpected error, hello world. Now, there is this file, this test.py, it cannot be executed because this print hello world is a Python script. It can't be executed because I don't have Python installed in this particular server. So what I'm going to do is I'll VI into that file called test.py. The first line is Python. What can I do? I can delete the line, right?
Yeah,
how can I delete the line?
Comment the line.
Comment the line.
I can comment the line. Thank you so much. So either I delete or I comment the line. Now, if I put a comment, that command will not be executed. So someone said, comment. What is a comment? A comment is what we call data about data. You see that? So comment, as we are going to be seeing in shell scripting, don't worry, we still have to go to shell script. If you put a comment, okay, this implies you don't want that command to be executed. So you put a comment there, the number sign. Comment is this sign. In shell scripting, that is comment. Okay, this is the comment. Therefore, I'm putting the comment. So if I save now, let me save. Okay, now I've saved. So let me try to execute this command, cat test.py. This file got how many lines? How many lines are going to be executed? All the echo commands, echo, 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 and echo. So these are 4 commands. I have put them in a script. I want to execute them. So if I do, let me come here, dot test.py, enter. Are all the commands executed? Can you see? Echo hello world. This is hello world. Jesus is Lord. DevOps is truly an enviable career. Study DevOps now. Can you see? These 4 lines have been executed. What is a script? A script is a collection of 1 or more commands. That's a script. So please take note. It's very important. Okay. So now we saw how we can create files. So you are now seeing the importance of attaching permissions to a file. When we get to scripting, you will see the importance again the more, because you cannot execute a file without the executable permission. For example, if we do ls-l test.py, can you see that it got executable permission now? Yes, it does. Read, write, execute is there. That's why the color had to change. So please take note, it's very important. Now, we also realize there is a very interesting command in Linux. You see that? And you can use that command to add users to your server. And that command is called add user command. You see that? So this is a command that we can use to add users to a server. So please take note. So if I wanted to create a user, all I have to do is to just type add user username, and the user will be added to my server. So let me try to achieve that. So I'm going to add a user called, look at the command. Let's add a user called my landmark, or landmark, add user, my landmark. So with this command, we are going to create a user. But now, how do we know the users that we have on our server? How do we know the users? How do we know the users? How do we know the users that we have on our server?
W command.
Now, for us to know the users that we have on our server, the users that are running, we are going to do cat etc password command. So if we do cat etc password, the password file is the file that contains all the users in your server. So let us execute this command, cat etc password, and see what we have. Can you see the number of users that we have? We have a user called EC2 user, landmark, SSD. Okay. Now these are all system users. Like when this operating system was installed, okay, you see some users that the system had installed. Now look at something. Can you see the root user? Can you see root user? This is the root user. So the first user is the admin, root user. These are users that we have created. So if you want to see the users that have been created in your server, all users, both system, root, okay, and normal users, which command do you execute? Cat etc password. Now, if you want to see Joe's normal users, you do cat/home. You see that not even cat/home, ls/home, rather ls/home is going to tell you all the users whose home directory has been created. So let's try to execute that command, because /home is a directory. Can you cat a directory? Can we cat a directory?
No.
We can only cat a file. For example, let me try to cat this directory. Let's see what will be told. /home is what?
A directory.
It's a directory. So for directory, we have to do ls. So let's do ls. Can you see? This is a directory. How many users have we created in this directory? We have EC2 user. We have landmark. These are the users. So now, let me show you something. Let us create a new user called my landmark. So we are using this command, add user, my landmark, add user. What am I told?
Permission
Permission denied. You see that? Permission is denied because for you to add user, you need to have that privilege to do so. And how do you achieve that privilege? You use sudo add user.
Yeah, the super user.
Or if I don't want to use sudo, I can become super user by just doing sudo. Okay, I do sudo -i and I become the root user and I carry out that command. You see that? But for now, let's just do sudo add user my landmark. Before permission was denied. What happened now? Is the user created?
Yes.
It's created.
I think so.
How can we know that? Let's check the home directory for users.
Oh, nice.
Can you see my landmark? When we try to list /home, we have EC2 user, landmark, and /landmark. Now, where else can we check if this user was created? Where else?
Etsy password.
The Etsy password.
Etsy password file, in this password file. So let's cut this password file and find out if we are going to get this user. Now, we do cut. Can you realize that we have the user? Do you see that? My landmark is created. But look at something. As a DevOps engineer, you just want a command that is going to give you just the information about this user. Which option can we pass here? Which option?
The grep.
We can grep. So we do grep. Let's grep for who? My landmark.
My landmark.
So we are going to cut this file and grep for my landmark. But before we grep, we are using a pipe. So what happens is that this pipe command, this pipe is like a temporal database. So when we do cut, all this information, we will not see it. It will be stored in this pipe, inside this pipe. Then it will extract my landmark information and give it to us. So let us try to execute that and see what we get. Enter cat etsy password grep for my landmark. What do we have? Can you see? This my landmark information that we saw, okay, is now available. So please take note. Now, but which other command can we use to extract my landmark? We can do ID my landmark. If you execute ID my landmark, it will also give you information about that user. Let's clear our screen and try that command. ID my landmark. Can you see? My landmark user was created. Now, when you create a user in Linux, that user is going to be assigned a numeric ID because the computer will understand that those ID, you as a human, you understand my landmark. But now when we created this user, we did not assign any ID to this user. But look at something. What happened? This computer have created the ID. You see that? So this is what happens, okay, when you create a user. So when you do ID, my landmark, it gives you the user ID, the group ID, and the groups where my landmark is found. So please take note. It's very important that we have this understanding. All of this was explained detailedly in our, okay, the last video that I shared, which is on YouTube as well. But now look at something. After creating this user, you want to assign a password to this user. Which command can we use to assign password to users? Is the passwd command.
It's password command.
Password command. So if I do passwd username, it will assign password to this user. So now let me try to execute that command. what am I told? Can I do that?
Only root can specify.
Only root can specify a username. So since only root can specify a username, what will I do to run this command as root? I'm going to assign what? Sudo.
Sudo -i.
Sudo. Once I use sudo before the command, now it is allowing me to change the password or to assign password for my landmark. So let me assign password. I'm going to assign a password called admin. Admin. Password token successfully updated. So now we also have a file called itsy shadow. So we have itsy password and we also have itsy shadow. Itsy shadow file. This is the file. Itsy shadow. Cat. Itsy shadow. What am I told? Am I able to read this file?
No.
No.
I cannot even read this file. Now let me try something. Let's do ls-l/itsy shadow and see what we have. Now look at this file.
No permissions.
There is no permission. But now they have assigned what we call sticky bit to this file. Okay, this file is owned by root. The group is root. I cannot read this file. Now, who am I? I'm EC2 user. Because the itsy shadow file is so important. It contains all information about the password of users. So you cannot just allow anybody to access this file. You see that? Because if anybody access this file, the person can mess up with password of users. As a matter of fact, you know, if you access this file, you can change password. You can access, okay, that is, if so, because it's just like there is a way I can delete the password of a user in this file, and I now log in as that user without a password. That is why you see here that nobody is allowed to access that file except the administrator. So for me to read this file, I'm going to do sudo cat itsy shadow. You see that? Can I read the file now? Yes, I can. So please take note. It's very important that we have this understanding. So this is the importance of the itsy shadow file. So if you are asked in an interview, what is the use of the itsy shadow file? That is the file that records the password of all users in the system. Itsy password file record information about users in the system. Okay, those are files. So please take note. Very important.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that about the interview question?
Pardon, please?
Can you repeat that about the interview question with the
interview question is, now, what is the content?
Say, I'm sorry, Ganga. And I'm going to your room.
Okay, now, what is the content of the itsy password and the itsy shadow file? You see that? What is the content of, okay, the itsy, this state is just like if I want to get the last users, right? The itsy password and the itsy shadow file. What is the content of the following files? You see that? The following files. Itsy password and itsy shadow. This contains what? Users information. You see that? And
users passwords.
Users password details. Okay, password details. With this file, it's just like somebody, you know, if he lays hold of this file, he can do anything. You know, just like when you go to a bank, you know, you have the vault where, I mean, all the money is kept right in the safe. The safe got a password. Just imagine that somebody pick up the document that has the password of the safe. They can break into the bank. So it's very dangerous. So that file is very important. So please, that's it. You know, take note of all what we have explained today. Take note of all what we have explained today. I want to advise that if you have not gone through the videos in the class channel, make sure you equally go through those videos. It's very important. Okay, so what we are going to be next in the next class, we are going to be advancing, okay, in our Linux commands, and we'll be looking at the next set of commands. You know, the next set of commands. I think we have this note already shared to us. Like we have gone through all of this user command. Okay, so we'll be looking at some other commands like, you know, clear, car, wget script, ping, telnet, history command, uname. This is what we'll be looking at in our next class. And this simple diagram here just explains the fact that when you have a server in AWS, we can have multiple servers in AWS. So if you have these servers in AWS, what can you do to manage these servers? The first stuff is that you will need a laptop. If you have a laptop like mine that is having Windows operating system on it, you need to install a software. That software is called an SSH client. Okay, it can be Pwd, it can be Super Pwd, or it can be PowerShell, Git Bash, or Mobile Extend. If you use that software, you can successfully log into your server. And this illustration is equally explaining the fact that we have this server, Linux server in AWS cloud, and we got different users. Like you have a user in China, a user in the United States, in Canada. All of them are working in the same company. They are trying, you have user 1, user 2, user 3 to access this server. So a Linux server supports multiple users, which means that many users can log into the server at once to manage the resources of that server. Someone can be creating a file, another one can be doing patching, whatever the task has been assigned, that is what is expected from them. So please take note. It's very important that you, you know, go through the videos, okay, in the class channel. And just to belabor again, we are going to, please, I expect that if you have any question, okay, particularly at this early stage, try to indicate so that you are at the same level where the entire class is. It's very important. And how do you explain that you have a question again? Now, we have a help desk, landmark help desk. These are our help desks as of today. Now, if you have any question, raise it in this help desk. You see that? Raise it in this help desk.
So,
how do you raise a question in this help desk? Now, there is a software on all laptops called sniping tool. Sniping. So you just click on sniping tool, click on it. It's something like this. Sniping tool. Now, assuming you were trying to run a command and you had an error, something like this, command not found. You are so worried. Or you are doing CD, command not found. You see that? You are worried. You want someone to help. How can you raise that ticket? Since you have this problem, click here on new. Once you click on new, it's going to gray your entire computer. The screen will appear gray, but just click on where you have a problem and you can select it like this. You see that? Select it, select it. Once it is selected, go back to the help desk. On the help desk, paste your problem like this and try to explain, okay, hello engineers. I'm having this error, okay, in my Linux server, period. Please help. You see that? Please help. Now, this is what you have done. I'm having this error in my Linux server. Please help. Now, once you do this, now I expect the entire class to have an account in Zoom, please. Make sure you have a Zoom account. Because you can also do this and you create a Zoom meeting and you add the Zoom meeting link here, something like this. Let me add the Zoom, like for example, if you start a Zoom meeting, okay, go here to participant, invite, copy link. So I'm copying this link. I can do something like this. Now, once I issue this ticket, I have issued a ticket with a Zoom link. Somebody can join me in my meeting in the next 1 second. Hello, engineers. I'm having this error on my Linux server. Please help. You see that? You could even add something there like, please join my meeting and help. You see that? Oh, please, okay, join my Zoom meeting and help. You see that? Now, this is a Zoom meeting link. Join my Zoom meeting and help, because it's easy, but somebody is trying to type, is trying to tell me that this problem is because, okay, I am typing my command in caps. Can you see? In Linux, commands are not typed in caps. So this is what you need to do at all times. Now, if you issue a ticket here and no response, what should you do? Escalate the ticket. Escalation. You see that? Escalate. Escalate the ticket, okay, to me. So if nobody resolves your ticket, escalate the ticket, okay, to me. That's how it goes. So please take note. This is what is expected from you guys.
I have a question, please.
Yes.
I forgot to stop my instance for a while, and I got a message that I've gotten to 85%. What limit? What happens when it gets 100%?
They may start charging you. So try to, because every month you have to use 750 hours free on your server.
Yeah.
Yeah, so make sure that you shut it down. On Saturday, we'll see how to shut down our server from the command line. Now, if you want to shut it down, what will you do?
You stop it.
You just come here and stop it, right? So,
yeah.
For example, if I want to stop this server, let me just show you. I have some servers running. Let me go to my Ohio region. I want to stop a server. I want to show you what I'm going to do to stop these servers. I want to stop one. Let me say, I want to stop these 3 servers. I select the 3. I come here to action, instance state, stop instance. But on Saturday, we are going to see how we can just stop the server from the command line. You see that, like, for example, if I want to stop this server now from the command line, there is a command I can execute and it's going to shut down this server. You see this server? Like this is, let me show you my server, but let me go back. Let me go back to US East 1, no, US North Virginia. Now this is the server I'm using, Red Hat 8 demo. This is where we end the class this evening. If I want to shut this server, I can execute a shutdown command, shutdown. Shutdown is a command. Enter. What am I told?
Failed.
Fail. You see that? The fact is that I cannot execute this command as a normal user. I need to be root, so I'll do sudo shutdown. You see that? What am I told? Broadcast message from root. The system is going down for power off. So it's going to give me 2 minutes and it will shut down this system. And just watch what you are going to see with this server. The server is called Red Hat Demo. Very soon, this server is going to be will shut down. Let me just click on the server. You can see this connect option, right? Once it's shut down, you won't have connect here. I must come here and manually start the server. So on Saturday, we'll look at the shutdown command and other system management command in a Linux server. So please take note. And by Sunday, we'll be looking at one other key aspect, which get to do with automation. You know, how we can use what we call cron job, okay, to automate tasks, okay, in our server. And next week, we are going to be starting. Can you see? Remote site unexpectedly closed network connection. You see that this server is down. This server is down. I can't access the server. Can you see connect there anymore? Connect is gray because the server is down. The server is down. So unless I start my server, so I can shut down my server from the command line so that you know you wouldn't. Okay, so whenever you get done with any task, you just click sudo shutdown. You shut down the server. So please take note. It's very important that we have this understanding and insight. Any question, please?
The region